Hi, hello, how are you? Can you hear me? Good to see you. I'm glad you joined. I guess in order for you to hear me, I have to talk. So hopefully, can you hear me? Fantastic, good. So how are you today? Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I am fine too. I'm glad now the system is working. I apologize for last week. I don't know what happened with the virtual class, but the site was not up until like half hour after the class would have ended. So I don't know, did you experience trouble getting into the virtual class for week 6? There's no problems. So I don't know what was my issue. I know I was out of town and I was in a different environment, so I don't know if that had a problem with it, but I did, hopefully you all got the slides. I did give you the presentation slides and did a little video that I posted in the discussion forum. And if you have any questions, we can go over it now as well, or as we review for the midterm exam. Do you know what day is your midterm exam? What day next week? I'm understanding that the students are given a schedule for the midterm exam. You're having it Sunday. Oh my. So you really are going to have it the beginning of the week Sunday? The first day of week 8? Well, it's a good thing. I did post, I don't know if you saw it, but I did post a midterm review presentation in the discussion forum, so that has, you know, all the topics that will be covered, as well as our discussion questions. So I don't know after you take the exam what we're going to do for office hours or for virtual class next week. I just posted it today, maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes before our office hour started. Or maybe 15 minutes. I didn't keep track. Just before I started office hours, I posted it there. And I will be grading week 6 assignments. I did not do that yet, but I will be doing it after the office hours. Any questions you have on week 6? Again, a lot of material, a lot of algorithms. So hopefully you have some system where you are making little reference guides for yourself to help you study. I think making notes from the chapter will help you, because you can make the notes in a way that you understand and in a way you can remember. Yes, lots of time. So I'm glad I gave you the guide. The guide is all the way through week 7, so up through chapter 11. So you could use that. Hopefully that will help. And again, as I recommended before, hopefully you've been taking the topics that were covered every week and made a brief summary for yourself or some kind of notes so that you could study that, and also go over the exercises at the end of the chapters, which is a good way to study, and then the extra questions that I offered you with the homework assignments. You had those exercises every week, So if you're familiar with that, the exam is 300 points, and it will have multiple choice, true, false, also short essay. They are going to put a few, yes, they will give a few short answer questions as well. So, but if you just put everything in your own words, you should be okay. I think you'll all do fine. Hello, how are you? Again, I apologize for last week. I don't know what happened. I was out of town and trying to connect for the virtual classroom, and I could not get into the school website, so I just couldn't get on. I am fine, thank you. I'm just glad everything's working now so we can have these sessions. Oh, the whole blackboard was off, so I wasn't alone. Good. I wasn't sure if it was just me or everybody or what happened. But I did put a little video on the discussion forum and also offered the slides. So hopefully that helped you. And also some extra questions to help. And I did also, as I mentioned before, I did post now a midterm exam review presentation. So that is in the discussion forum for you that covers all the topics and all our extra assigned questions and also the homework questions all in one place. So hopefully that'll help you when you study for the midterm exam. I am understanding that your midterm exam is going to be on the first day of the week. So it's a good thing I prepared this. You will now have time for this week to study. We do have week 7, so you're going to do a little crash course on week 7 material, chapter 10 and 11 before the exam. But I included that in the midterm review. So hopefully that's there now so you can work ahead and understand that information. So welcome as everybody is coming in. It is the time to start. Again, week 6, yes, there is a lot to study. That is correct. I'm hoping, as I recommended every week, that you take those topics that I offered you and made brief summary or a little description for yourself so you can have it as a good way or note to study for every week's topic. This is also included in the midterm exam review that I posted, so you have all your topics, and if you can understand each topic, then I think you should be okay. There were algorithms, there were some calculations, so hopefully some of that will sink in. Practicing with the exercises at the end of the chapter is a good way to do that. The exam is 300 points. You will have multiple choice questions, true, false questions, and they will now also put some short essay. But for the short essay, just explain it how you wish. I did include some now in the midterm review exam, the review guide, so I'll give you some idea how to answer them. But you've been doing that already when you did your assignments for each chapter. Those exercises, you have to write short essays. So you already been doing it, so you should know already. It's just a few sentences that you need to offer, and just put it in your own words how you understand it, and that'll be good for the short essay answers. But then also you will have multiple choice and true, false. So yes, it will be chapters 1 through 11, so that is a lot of material to study, and hopefully you have some good system. And again, I hope you didn't wait to the last minute to study. You've been studying every week. If you studied every week, then it's not everything all at once now. So it is the first day of the week is your exam. So I don't know what we're going to do in week 8 since you'll already be done with the exam. So we'll see what we can talk about. Maybe I'll start talking about week 9 material to get a head start. But I also, with the discussion forum, I did post the midterm review. And also, this is a good place to ask questions if you're not understanding a topic, so we all can work together to understand it. Also, if you have a guide or a study guide that you were creating since the class started, maybe you can share that with your classmates if you have something. And then all of you can share what you have to study from, if you created notes or if you have some kind of list, share it with each other, and it'll help you then when you review someone else's notes or when you review their list. That'll help you, again, reinforce the information. Okay, so let's continue on. This is week 6. Let's review a little bit about this is week 7. Let's review about week 6. Again, I apologize. We didn't have that virtual class, but you all did get credit for attendance. I did put the little video for you in the discussion forum and the slides, so do make sure you go over it. And we discussed virtual memory management, and that's a technique to mapping. It was just a matter of having physical memory, but sometimes mapping it so that it looks like you have more memory than you really do, but it's just different strategies that are used so that you can then do processes, or if a process has various tasks to complete. Some things can be done at the same time, or they can be swapped in and out of memory. So it was just a way, again, because of our applications these days are so sophisticated, requiring more applications and tasks and resources. It was a way just to help so that you can have strategies to be able to process these applications. So virtual memory makes it possible to run extremely large processes and to raise the degree of multi-programming with increased CPU utilization, even though processes entire memory image is not in physical memory at once. Sometimes you have a large application and it's just too large to keep in memory at any one time while it's running. So there has to be strategies how to split it up. And the commonly implementation of virtual memory is demand paging. So that's where pages are loaded only when they are demanded during program execution. The operating system itself is a large set of programs, and that too can't fit into memory while you're running your computer, because then you wouldn't have any memory left for any other application. So you will have, it is known as internal programs. Those are the operating system programs that are in memory when you work on a computer. And then there's external programs. Those are programs that stay out on the hard drive so that it is only used and loaded into the memory when you need it. So not only this is done with the operating system itself, the strategy is also done with other applications. Okay, here are the topics, some of the major important topics that are covered in the chapter. Again, just as a tip for the midterm exam, when you review for it, you have these topics for all the chapters. So write down a brief description for each of these topics. Keep a list for yourself so that you can have it as an extra study guide. When you read the chapter, make notes of the chapter, so then that activity of when you're making these notes help reinforce the material and information that you're learning. Yes, it is a lot of information, and yes, you do have to study it, and yes, you have to know it for the midterm exam. So hopefully you've been doing this since week 1, every week, going over the topics, and then when you start another week, review the previous week and then go over the current week, and that's what I've been doing with the office hours and with the virtual class, just to help you then again reinforce and repeat some of the information that you're going to be covered on the midterm exam. So this was a very, chapter 6 was a complex chapter, another complex chapter, but hopefully you got through it. I did not get a chance to correct the homework or exercises yet. I will be doing that after office hours, so I will get that done. And hopefully you all did a good job. Some of you did not turn in your exercises, so please make sure to do that. It'll be a good thing to get done before the midterm exam. So I guess you're all clear. Your midterm exam is the first day of week 8, and it will be chapters 1 through 11, covering not only your assignments that you did for exercises, but also all the topics that are included in all the chapters. So hopefully, just one second. Sorry, everybody. Okay. So again, week 6 was talking about virtual memory management. These were your videos. Again, review all these PowerPoint presentations, review all the videos that will help you as well to study for the midterm exam. Here were the assignments for week 6. I did not grade them yet, but I will be doing that as soon as the office hours are over. So look for my feedback in the grade book. I will also offer the solutions now. Any questions on week 6? This exercise 9.9 reviewed page frames, the page replacement algorithm. So LRU is a very common strategy that is used today. So that's why this is a good exercise that was given to you to understand and offer your answer. So this is kind of the strategy, what to follow. And again, if you didn't know, it's in chapter 9. And here was the solution. So example, the only choices are pages 4, 8, 12, and 13. Thus, example addresses include anything that begins with the hexadecimal sequence that matches with 4, 8, 12, and 13. And then any page entry that has a reference bit of 0, this includes the following frames: 9, 1, 14, 13, 8, 0, and 4. Okay, any questions on that exercise? It was just following the algorithm again in the chapter. So I'll review that again. If you're not clear, I will be grading the assignments today after the office hours, so I'm assuming you all got it. Now, exercise 9.12. Discuss situations in which the most frequently used page replacement algorithm generates fewer page faults than the least recently used page replacement algorithm. Also discuss under what circumstances the opposite holds. Now, is everybody clear on what a page fault is? That pretty much is just a signal, yes, that is set to know then to look for some process instructions to determine, is it in memory, and if it's not in memory, it needs to be placed in memory. So these are just strategies then to monitor what processes or parts of the process that need to be in memory, and then when whatever part is completed and it needs more information in memory or needs to be changed, it then will generate a page fault. And this would be a listing then to know, because also the operating system has to keep track what parts of the process was in memory, what parts need to be placed in memory, and in what order or sequence they need to be completed. So here is the solution for exercise 9.12, and then there's just the difference between the MFU and LRU. And again, LRU is what's most frequently used today. And then you had a programming project. Again, all I needed was your logic. You could have offered pseudocode, you could have offered flowcharts, or some of you may have completed it in Java, or just wrote the Java code for this, or actually ran it. So I will post in the discussion forum an area that if you did, whatever you did do, please share with your classmates. That will then, especially those of you who have programmed, it will be a great thing to place in the discussion forum for the class to see. But there is various strategies, and it was given to you as to how to strategize or how to do this. And it was based on this replacement algorithm. So hopefully you understood it. And this is kind of the steps of what to do. So there was some resources that I gave to you. And actually, I'll be giving you, when I grade your program or your completion for that assignment, I will also give you some Python code. So not only do you have a version in Java, there's versions in Python, which is another programming language out there. And you will see, again, as you're seeing maybe now, between what you're looking at in the C programming language and comparing it to the Java programming language, you'll see that you can understand the logic. The syntax may be a little different, but you still have an understanding of what the statements are pretty much doing. You can recognize an if-then-else statement. You can recognize an assignment statement where something equals something. Perhaps the references to addresses may be a little differently noted between the different languages. But again, the Python version, something that I will give to you as I grade your program for yourself to take a look at. You will see programming, once you understand the fundamentals of programming, pretty much apply to all programming languages, and it's good for you to see the different codes. You already should be familiar with C because that's what's covered in the textbook. Java, because that is some programming you already did. Python, I will give you something today so you can take a look at that. And then if you have the time, look at C++. How does it change? How is it different from C? How is it the same as C? So just know, just because you know how to program in one language, believe me, you'll be able to figure out how to program in another language. All the logic and the statements are pretty much the same, it's just the syntax that's different. Okay, here's some of your optional exercises. Okay, which of the following is the benefit of allowing a program that is only partially in memory to execute? The whole purpose of having virtual memory, in order to know how to determine what part of a program needs to be in memory and what part of it doesn't, so that you can continue your execution of the entire program but not need to load it all in memory at the same time. Programs these days probably wouldn't even fit in your memory at one time, especially with all the inclusion of graphics. Graphics take a lot of space. So these are the benefits. All of these are benefits. So programs can be written to use more memory than is available in physical memory. That's called the virtual memory. That's that extra memory that you are making just a logical representation of it. There is no physical representation that matches one for one. So it's just strategies of putting in the pages or the frames in and out as you need it. CPU utilization and throughput is increased because there's no waiting. It's always running and there's always instructions being fed into the CPU. And less input-output is needed to load or swap each user's program into memory, depending on the strategy you use. So is everybody clear, at least the general idea of virtual memory, how it helps, and how it extends physical memory in a logical sense? Is everybody clear on that? Yes? No? Maybe so? Hopefully you were able to go through this when we looked at Chapter 6. Again, it is something that is very useful to know, because any applications or programs you do, you will be manipulating this virtual memory. You have a capacity to manipulate it. So you can work with the operating system when you determine what needs to be in memory and what does not need to be in memory. So these are good topics to understand and understand well. Okay, for section, again, the sections are listed here. So if you're not sure about the answer for one of the questions, go to that section in the textbook and then you can understand it. And if you have questions, put them in the discussion forum. That's what the discussion forum is for. So suppose we have the following page accesses and that there are 3 frames within our system. Using the first in, first out replacement algorithm, what is the number of page faults for the given reference string? And the answer is 8. Again, look at the algorithm and plug in the numbers and you will be able to determine the answer. So this is, again, using the FIFO replacement, the final configuration of the 3 frames, and that is 3, 4, and 2. You got 4, 3, and 2. Okay, I'll have to double check that then. Good, good. I'm glad you brought that up. I will double check it and then put it in discussion forum for the correct answer. It may have been just a copy paste quickly, too quickly. So thanks, Nora. I'll get that out in discussion forum. And then for given the reference string, this is now using the LRU algorithm. So know the difference between the algorithms, and this is 314. Again, they're all the 3-page frames. And you got the 4, 1, 3, same thing. Okay, I'm going to double check. So these 2 will definitely double check. Everybody actually double check this one. And then we can come. I'll put these in the discussion forum so we can use it for class collaboration. And then actually everybody show your work. So show your work, how you came up with your answer. So maybe there is an error in how we use the algorithm. And here, as I mentioned before, the LRU is the algorithm implemented on most systems. It'll be a good way to actually practice for the midterm exam. And maybe I'll find some additional questions like this, and we all can work together in the class in the discussion forum. Okay, so we know this was LRU. This thrashing occurs when a process spends more time paging than executing. That's just a term that is given. And all these other memory mapping, demand paging, and swapping are, again, strategies. Demand paging is very popular as well. And anytime you have a memory or physical memory that the operating system needs to keep track of, you're going to have memory mapping. And then swapping is when you swap in pages or frames or any allocation of memory to the next swapping when you're done with one part and need to then go to the next set of instructions. So hopefully you're familiar with all of these topics. Okay, blank allows a portion of a virtual address space to be logically associated with a file, and that's memory mapping. So that's keeping track, because you have your physical memory, you have your virtual addresses for your virtual memory, and there has to be some kind of mapping to determine what goes into the physical memory and when. And shared memory we already looked at, slab allocation, locality of reference. So again, these terms you should be familiar with. If not, do then refer to them in your textbook. And this question is false. In general, virtual memory decreases the degree of multi-programming in a system. It actually increases the degree of multi-programming in the system. That's the whole purpose why that strategy was created. Our applications are getting larger than our physical memory can hold. Or it allows multiple programs to be running, because all you need is a portion of each program in memory at a time when they're executing. Here's another one. Again, this is an example of a short essay question. So you will have a few of these on the midterm exam. So when you do study, don't just study A, B, and C when you're looking at multiple choice or true and false. Also understand, all the options. When you have a multiple choice question and there's like 4 options and one of them is correct, make sure, though, you understand what the other topics are about or the other answers are about. They may not be the correct answer for that question, but they still are something you should know. So it gives you an opportunity then to, have this information given to you in a different, various formats to make sure you really understand it. You can read it. You have your topics. Then you can have brief descriptions, and then as you go through the short essay questions, understand the answer. When you go through the multiple choice questions, understand all the options, A, B, C, and D, to know what each of them mean. So it's a good way just to reinforce, not only for that question, but all the other topics that are covered in that chapter. And same thing with the true-false. Why is it false? What makes it true? Or if it's true, why is it true? So just some options for you then as you study for the midterm exam. So any question on this? How is the effective access time computed? And there it is. It's a formula. So we have a lot of formulas. No what? I see a no there. Oh, no questions. You understand it? Okay, good. And this one, which of the following statements is false with regards to allocating kernel memory? Another trick, make sure you read each question carefully. You may be nervous, so you're trying to go fast to get through because you have so many questions, but take your time, because if you read this question wrong, you might answer it wrong. So, but the answer for this is C. So that is false. So the opposite of this is true. It always has to. Well, in general, it always has to be concerned about wasting memory. That's the whole purpose. Because some of the kernel requests might be large. So if there's large, you always should be concerned about wasting memory. That's the whole purpose of these strategies, to utilize the physical memory to such an extent that you not only utilize the physical memory to the best way possible, you also have your strategies manipulate the physical memory the best way possible. Some of those strategies, like you may have a whole page, you may devote a whole page of memory to only a little portion needed. So if it's varying sizes or it's not varying in size, would be determined again by your strategy. And it is a determination again. That's why you may have 2-page levels or 3-page levels, just to help use up any wasted space you may have. Okay. So that was chapter 6. There was a lot of different strategies. Again, the basic is, okay, well, we're going to have more memory that we're going to virtually allocate, and that will allow us to run more programs and processes, and maybe some at the same time. Now we have to determine what needs to be in memory at what time and how it's allocated. So there's different times this memory is allocated, as we know from week 5. Now determining, though, if we give a set fixed size of memory that's allocated to no matter what process is being processed or what instructions, we may be allocating more memory. So when we do segmentation, then it's a way then to have varying sizes. But then if we do it in page frames, then we have a fixed size. So we have to know, well, if we're using this large page, but we really don't need all of this memory, what's another strategy to work with that? Then we came up with the 2-page, and then even a 3-page implementations. So it's breaking up a page into more than one page, just to have a chance to unuse that memory space. So there's a lot of strategies, but if you just think about it, it's just kind of a logical ways to determine what to do with this allocation. I think we see it in our everyday lives when we have, for example, a budget and we have to determine how much of what we're going to pay with this budget. Similar, we have this set amount of memory, so how can we work with this memory to be able to use more virtually or to accommodate more? But we have to also do it in an efficient way. We say, yeah, we'll break it up into pages, but then those pages might be so much more memory than is ever needed. So what do we do next? So that's what all these are. And also when to determine, what if we have memories full and we have a process coming in? How do we determine then? Do we just don't do anything and nobody runs and wait for the other ones to complete? But what if the process comes in as higher priority? Then you have to determine, okay, who you're going to take out of memory to put this higher priority need into memory. So there's a lot of strategies. You're covering all possible strategies with all possible environments, with all possible scenarios. So if, later on when you are into your IT profession, you will then have, the certain more popular ones that are used based on the operating system that you have in front of you. That's why I put some videos as to concentrate if you're going to know more Windows or if you're going to know more Linux or Solaris, depending on what system you have. Right now you're being exposed to all possible combinations, all possible strategies, but later on you definitely will be concentrating on 1 or 2 at the most. So it will get less as you continue on in your career, but right now you're kind of getting an overview of everything. So that's why it seems like it's so much, but really when you're out into the workplace and you're working with this memory and these operating systems, then you have a set. You just have some of these strategies that you have to understand and know very well. Okay. Oh, the videos don't come up? Okay, the links are there. If you can't see the videos, it all depends on what browser you use. I think that one has been the problem with me. So if you use Internet Explorer, if they don't come up, maybe you want to try Google Chrome. So depending on the browser will determine how well you could see those videos. If not, I did include the link. Or if I didn't, I will put them there. So I'll put the link there. I believe I did. But the link, then you could just copy and paste it into your browser. Or maybe, again, that was a Blackboard thing. When the whole thing, they're maybe doing some upgrading as well. So. Okay, now the file systems. That's now we're going into week 7 topics, and that's file systems, chapter 10, and then implementing them in chapter 11. Again, you're getting all possible strategies that are used in the world today, and it's an overview for all of them. But again, when you are in the field, you will only have typically what you're working with, and that will then be reduced to 1 or maybe 2 operating systems. So right now you're just getting everything. But as you are going through the topics in week 7, it would be a good idea then apply it. Why don't you get to know what operating system you're working with? If you have Windows 7 or Windows 8, then understand what you have in front of you. It's a good way then to apply once what you're learning about in these chapter readings and actually seeing it then on your own computer. So it's a good way, again, to help reinforce it. Or if you're using a Mac computer, then compare it to what part of the textbook reading applies to what you have. Even though you're going to learn about everything, you can then go deeper with the knowledge for the case study in front of you. Or perhaps at school they have different setups for different computers. So learn what they have. And it's a good way then to see an actual, working version of what you're learning about in the textbook. So these are the topics. Again, as I've been stressing every week, take these topics, write out some summary for yourself, or brief descriptions for yourself, or maybe page numbers for yourself, so that you know then when you review for this, for the exams, you will know exactly where to go, and you'll have a study guide for you. Don't forget, even though we're having the midterm exam from chapters 1 through 11, for the final exam, all chapters are covered. So you will have to know this material again. So again, I urge you, if you haven't, create study guides for yourself. I do have that midterm review presentation on the discussion forum for you. And those of you who maybe have taken this to the next step and you created some nice little study guides for yourself, post it in the classroom and share with your classmates. That'll help reinforce for yourself, and also when you start reviewing someone else's notes, it reinforces it again, and maybe in a little different way. So then you really understand it even that much better. Okay, so files. We work with files all the time. That's the basis of what we pretty much know, how we access anything that's stored on our computer. It's in the form of a file. So how does the operating system keep track of all these files? So far, as throughout this course, we went through a general description of operating systems. We looked at how processes are scheduled. We looked how memory is used and allocated. And now we're looking at some of the more logical representations of our real-world applications. We have files for everything. So how are these files managed? How are we able to store them, to open them, to copy them, to delete them? So everything pretty much is in the unit of a file, which we are very familiar with. That's the largest unit that we will use, or the most frequent unit that we will use. So the file system is an important part of an operating system. All operating systems pretty much will have some form of a GUI or a screen that comes up to show you a list of your files, to show you a list of your folders, so that you have information about it. We work with naming them. When we name our files, we sometimes have to follow naming conventions. It's a good idea to have some routine for yourself when you do your files. You organize them in folders. You will have, like for Windows, you'll have some default folders like My Documents, but then you may, or just Documents, but then you may want to organize it even further. It's a good idea to do so. It's easier when you need to find them. It's easier if you need to work with them. So organization is key. And also there's other default folders you might have. You might have one for pictures. You might have one for videos. You might have one for music. So these are some default folders that are set up for you by the operating system, and then you can keep them, change them, or do what you wish. You personalize your own computer. So how many of you take the time to organize your folders on your computer? Do you have some kind of system that you use? Very good. That's like your inbox for your email. Do you organize that into folders? Email is also little files. So, yeah, a lot of organization. We have a lot of things. How about your videos, your music? It is good to keep track of them, because if you're going to be even looking at the performance of your computer, you need to know, first of all, what files you need, what files you don't need. Also, you need to recognize strange files, because those strange files can be viruses. So you should have a good idea of where files are. Operating system files will be in a certain folder. Some of these files will maybe even be hidden, because it's to prevent the user from deleting them, and then your computer won't work. So there's a lot of different settings for files. as well as placement of files. But they all do start, if you're putting them on the hard drive, they're all going to start with the root directory, and that typically is C. C:, is a drive designation that a computer, the operating system has for the root. It's called the root directory. That's what everything stems off of. So we'll look at all this information, how it's stored, what it looks like, and what kind of information about a file you have. So that's something that we'll be covering this. Also how to protect them. So we have file system structure, file system implementation, directory implementation, allocation methods, free space management, efficiency, performance. That's like completing your disk cleanup or doing your disk defragmentation. These are things that need to be done. How to recover files in case by accident they got deleted. NFS, very common file system structure. So we'll be looking at some examples as well. And then implementing them for Chapter 11, issues surrounding file storage and access. Now you have direct access. There's indirect access. Sometimes it's random access or sequential access. So depending on how it's stored and what it's stored on will determine how you access it or access your files. And again, you need to know about space. There's the space for you have internal and external storage devices. Involatile storage is what all these external storage devices are. So that's something we'll be looking at in week 7. Again, do read all the PowerPoint, review the PowerPoints, review your chapter readings, look at the videos. Again, you have a list of topics. Make notes on that. Make notes as you read. And here's your exercises for week 7. So you have 10.6, 10.7, and 11.7. And then here's some additional optional exercises. So I'll recommend that you go through these. And when you go through them, don't just understand the answer, whatever is the answer for this question. Look at all of the answers and make sure you understand them when that does apply or what it means. It'll just help reinforce the information from different viewpoints and different perspectives. So here's exercise 3. So there's 10. I gave you 10, 5 from chapter 10, and then 5 more from chapter 11. So hopefully, I also included some short answer questions to get used to using them. Okay, so at the end of this, I also have all the topics. Again, you do have your midterm exam. It's the first day of week 8. So it's something, if you haven't already, I would recommend you start studying because there are a lot of chapters you have to cover. I did place the PowerPoint presentation in the discussion forum that goes over chapters 1 through 11, includes all your exercises and answers, includes all the optional exercises and answers. So hopefully that'll help give you a good direction and good activities for you then to reinforce what you are learning. Yeah, there'll be a few short essays, but not too many. So I did include some extra ones. So I added some more to the midterm review, more than we did every week, so you can take a look at them. But they're similar to your exercises. When you did your exercises every week, they're similar to the exercises at the end of the chapter, or your end of the chapter exercises. You had to write a couple sentences. So that's what that means. So it may not be multiple choice or true false, but then you might have to write down a few sentences. So again, just write what you think is the answer, describe it in your own words, and it'll be pretty much understood. Whoever grades it, they'll understand. Make sure what you're writing is just, they can understand what you're saying. Put it in, easy terms. No, there'll be no coding, no programming. You won't even be, I believe it's going to be paper. You won't even be in front of a computer when you take your exam. So it'll be in a paper format. So you definitely can't code. You can't code on paper. Not yet, at any rate. Not the way we use paper today. Okay, so I gave you a list here of these topics. Again, I do have this posted in the discussion forum, so if you have any questions on something, you're not clear, you can't understand it, put your question there. We'll all work together to study together. Again, hopefully you've been doing this since week 1. I'm hoping is that you've been writing down answers to these topics, or at least page numbers, answers, so you have a reference. Here's the chapter 2, so this goes through all the chapters. Chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is this week, and 11. So, again, I will post this in the discussion forum. You hate chapter 5. I know there's a lot of them with a lot of algorithms. That one had a lot of statistics. Again, to determine if a strategy is good, you somehow have to have some objective numeric comparison. So this one did have a lot of calculation. But again, it's just one exam, 300 points. You can get most of it correct and still get an A. If you get up to 270 correct points, that gives you 30 points to play with. So just take your time when you answer it. After you're done, if you have time, go back and answer and review. Again, it's mostly taking your time when it comes to reading a question. A lot of the multiple choice and true false is, the answer is really there. If you read it carefully, it's very clear. Or at least it's clear to know what cannot be the answer, for sure. And then you can do a matter of elimination as to what is the answer. It is a lot of material. Again, this is something, though, it's an overview where you're going through everything. But when you're out in the workplace, you're only going to have 1 or 2 that's your strategies that you're going to know closely or have to know closely. So this is an overview, and it's understood it's an overview. So hopefully the additional questions I gave you will help. Some of those may be on the exam. So you might have some familiar questions that you already have the answer for. And again, review the exercises at the end of the chapter, not just the ones you've been assigned, but review all of them. And if you have a question, I can give you the answer for it. So I can give you answers for exercises that maybe you wanted to do, you think you have correct, you're not sure. I will give you the answer for chapters 1 through 11. So again, post your material in the discussion forum for each other. Post your questions and answers in the discussion forum for each other. And if you need any additional information from me, let me know, and then I'll post it out there. But I think if you review all your material, you'll have a good understanding of the material that's covered. Yes, and I know I have a feeling you will. You're doing very well already. One thing is you show up to the office hours and you show up for the virtual class. That's a very good sign, because just by being here, you're hearing the material. The more you hear it, the more it's going to get ingrained in your mind. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you do your assignments on time, and all of you are doing very well on your assignments. So if you're understanding the assignments like that, I think you'll have no trouble. So I'm definitely trying to help you again. I give you the topics, I give you extra questions, so hopefully that helps. And then hopefully you are creating your own study guides and your own little reference or page numbers that you can refer to. So just a reminder again, your midterm exam is the first day of week 8. This week, Use it to study and collaborate with your classmates. Hopefully you already have some study guide for yourself from week 1, starting with week 1. So any questions? So if not, any questions on anything? We will have a virtual class on Wednesday to go one more time over week 7. And if you have questions on anything, we can cover that in a virtual class or in the discussion forum. Please use that. That's what that's there for. Ready to fight. I know you'll do well. And once you take the midterm exam, then you'll be all prepared then for the final exam. Half the battle will be done. And I believe we will go then, after you take the midterm exam, if I will get the corrected version, I will then go over that in class as well. So you then, in case you had a question on what you did wrong, then we can clear that up. So I will see the process on that. I believe they'll have to wait till all the classes take the exam before they give out the answers. So it probably will not be until week 9 sometime that we'll be able to go over the answers for the midterm. But again, it'll be a way to study for the final exam. Okay, so any questions so far? If not, I wish you a good day and let you give you a little 10 minutes here that you can go off and study a little bit with each other. And if you did not complete the week 6 assignments, please do get them in. I will be grading them after this session, so that then I will put them into the grade book. Some of the grading I did give you all credit for the virtual class because I gave you that little video and the slides. So I have faith that you reviewed all that material. So I gave you credit for the virtual class and also for the article. I know that article is additional material that we had to go through. Some of you did post your little discussion on it or a few sentences. Thank you very much. And if anything, do read the articles. It gives you additional information that is helpful just for you to know. So the more you know, it's called job security and job marketability. So the more you know, the more you'll stand out in the workplace and you'll be a more valued employee because you will just be, have that much more information and skills than your fellow coworker. So it's always good. Okay, and with that, again, this is recorded. All the sessions, too, maybe if you have the time, all the office hours and virtual class sessions are recorded. So maybe you want to do that as an extra way to refresh your memory on some of the material. Again, the more you hear it, the more it gets into your memory faster. So the more you visit the material, so reading the material, reviewing the presentations, is just kind of, you're seeing the material over and over and over and again, so there's no way for you not to know it, just by repetition. So all the sessions that we conducted are recorded. You can go through that. There are the videos that are in the classroom, there are PowerPoints, and also the textbook readings and exercises. Okay, and good luck. But we will see you on Wednesday, so be prepared. Have Wednesday. It'll be good if you pretty much covered your week 7 material for yourself. So the virtual class will be more like a review session. So try to do as much of week 7 as you can before Wednesday or before our virtual class so that you can use it like a review. And then if we have extra time, we will then review the we will be reviewing the midterm exam. Okay, good luck, everybody. You are quite welcome, and thank you all for attending, and we'll see you on Wednesday and in the discussion forum. Bye-bye.